Welcome to FNA MTG, that's Fun and Affordable Magic the Gathering. This is Limited EDH Series 1, Episode 1. Limited EDH Series will be providing deck techs for Commander with a restricted fill in the form of restrictions on what cards can go into the 99 and Commander. This first series will be on guilds. Gilded 1 means that except basic land cards, all cards must contain both guild colors. The second gilded rule is cards may contain only one color if the card contains the guild's name, watermark, or mechanic. The first guild we have is the Simic guild. That's green and blue. There will be 10 total videos in this series for each of the two color pair combinations in Magic. Momir Vig, Simic Visionary, is a 2/2 elf wizard that says whenever you cast a green creature spell, you may search your library for a creature card and reveal it. If you do, shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Also says whenever you cast a blue creature spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put that card into your hand. The great part about this guild restricted commander deck is that every creature spell in the deck, with the exception of maybe one, has green and blue in its cost, meaning that both of these abilities of Momir will trigger. You control both abilities, so you will be able to have the first ability resolve off the stack first and the second resolve next, meaning that you can play a creature spell and go search up a creature, put the creature on top, and then put the creature into your hand. Great utility for this deck, an excellent primary commander. Let's get into the cards that are in this deck. First up, we have cards that give us more mana. Kira's Follower and Kira Master of Ways provide an Arbor Elf type of effect. We can't actually play Arbor Elf, so these cards get the job done. We have Weaver of Currents that provides mana. We have Simic Signet, which is the only rock that we're allowed to use under the restrictions. Kaidale, which gives us at least one mana a turn, but usually far more than that. And Crewfix to help us store any leftover mana, ensuring that we are always efficient. We have Rashmi, which doesn't provide us with more mana, but ensures that we hit our land drops. Thrasios for that card draw, control our draws, and provide the ramp that we need. Bounty of Aluxa to alternate between ramp and draw. And then Plasma Capture, which lets us have a mana drain or that new card from Ixalan that provides treasures type of effect where we get X mana and we get a counter a spell. It's pretty fun. Next up, we have cards that provide us with more cards. There's a sub-theme in this deck for 1/1 counter, so Breed for the Hunt will be getting us cards quite often. We're playing commanders, or one of our players is certainly going to have creatures for us to target and draw some cards that way. We see here our first Evolve and Graft abilities, which is Simic's Guild mechanics. I'll read them here for this first time. Graft means that this creature enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may move a 1/1 counter from this creature onto it, and then the number of counters will depend on whatever the graft is. So we see graft 4, so it'll be 4 1/1 counters. What's awesome is these mechanics, like you would expect, work really well together because we have Evolve. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 counter on it. So Fathom Mage lets us draw ridiculous amounts of cards if we get it out early enough, pretty much whenever we get it out. But both of these bounce off one another because if Fathom Mage comes in first, the Sages comes in after, it's going to be higher, so we will evolve Fathom Mage and draw a card. And then every turn after that a creature comes in, Sages will put a 1/1 counter onto Mage and we'll get a draw card. If you want to put the counter, so there is that utility. Just Simic Guide works. Simic Guild works really well together with all of its abilities. Then we have creatures that have activated abilities that let us draw cards. It's really fun and flavorful. Next up, we have tempo cards. So Simic's not super great at removal, so we just use more of a tempo type effects. We can't use a traditional counter spell because of the restrictions, so we use Mystic Genesis, which also gives us creatures. Then we have like a pacifism type of effect. And we have some counter spells and some hexproof and a little bit of artifact or enchantment removal. Finally, we have some prevent damage in Kiora. We have some return cards and some tap cards. Exactly what Tempo's trying to do. Next up, we have our alternate cards. So by alternate cards, I mean the cards that can be used as an alternate commander and cards that are alternate win condition. There's actually only one of them, Biovisionary, and it says at the beginning of the end step, if you control 4 or more creatures named Biovisionary, you win the game. I like you win the game cards in Commander, and Simic has one, so of course we are going to run it. Should note that every legendary creature in this deck, including Azuri, Rashmi, and the Triton, as we've seen in previous slides, and including on this slide, can be used as an alternate commander with little to no effect in the gameplay of the deck. The primary commander, Momir's ability, is above all going to be your best option, but if you run these other commanders, you can have just as much fun, and it kind of provides you with sort of a different look to a deck that's restricted. This deck, even though it is guild restricted, is kind of like playing 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different commander decks in one, especially if you have an affinity for the guild Simic or just guilds in general. These 4 cards are going to get us to 4 Biovisionaries. Spitting Image and Progenitor Mimic will get you there the quickest if you just need 1 or 2 more Alter Ego and Cyto Shape help out. Just fun cards. Next few slides we have utility cards. Not much to say about these cards, but that doesn't mean that they're not great cards. They're just pretty self-explanatory here. Flavorful, of course, we got Simic Guild Mage. I mean, it's a guild deck. Merc Fiend Liege. Just, I mean, pretty much the best lord you can ask for. Nissa Steward of Elements because it's a green-blue deck. Why not play all the green-blue planeswalkers we can? Turning things into frogs, always fun. And more 1/1 counter synergies. Charlotte's Agent made the cut. Just, just a fun card. I mean, look at that art. That's gorgeous. In a twisted way, I guess, but gorgeous nonetheless. Some more utility here. Yep, and more utility. Graft Mechanic shows up a lot here. 1/1 counters. Draw cards, gain life, untap stuff, put some more counters on stuff. Just super flavorful, super flavorful. Favor of the overbeing is there's a cycle of these cards, and this one's Simic's Vigilance Flying, and then the +1/+1/+1/+1. I really like Fable of Wolfenow because you get a 1/1 flyer and a 2/2 wolf on all but one creature that you could cast. It's just so much value for a 6-mana investment, and just fun. Like, look at that owl coming down on that wolf. It's just fun cards. finally, we have our land cards. So it's pretty much a dead split of islands and forest, except for there's one less forest because we have a graft land that taps for a green. And then the dual lands and the utility lands, as long as they have green blue, they meet the requirements for the guild restrictions. So you could find this deck list 836141 on MTG Goldfish. At the recording of this video, which is right at Thanksgiving time 2017, you can get this deck for $70 online. TCG player. It's on one card. It's actually the cheapest you can get it. I looked at all the different ways to get the deck, and one card was cheaper than getting it in 15 different packages. So I'll just say this about building guild decks or playing guild decks, and even if you get the ones from this series on this channel, or if you make your own, if your playgroup makes guild decks, you'll just you'll find a appreciation for playing a limited or a restricted version of EDH and playing these decks in different types of variants of Magic, like the new Explorers of Ixalan, or if you want to play Kingdom or start a league, is we've been having a great time with it in our play group, and I hope you enjoy it as well. So that's Momir Vig, Simic Visionary, the Simic Guild Restricted deck, and we will see you next week for another restricted deck.